There comes a moment, not just in a day, but in a lifetime, when your soul cries out for something deeper than comfort, something eternal. If your heart feels weary, if your spirit feels crushed beneath the weight of unspoken battles, if no one seems to see the tears you've held back in silence, then let this moment be a divine interruption. You didn't stumble upon this message by accident. Heaven orchestrated this very second for you. Every tear, every betrayal, every silent night where you felt abandoned, none of it was wasted. You've been walking through the fire not to be destroyed, but to be purified. Chosen one, there is a reason your journey has been so intense, your pain so personal, your trials so relentless. It's because your calling is higher than you imagined. When people walked away, it wasn't rejection, it was redirection. When doors closed, it wasn't punishment, it was protection. When no one understood your heart, God was drawing you closer to His. This message is not just words. It is oil for your wounds. It is light for your dark night. It is confirmation that God has never left you. You were not buried, you were planted. And now it's your season to rise, so breathe again, listen closely. What your heart has longed to hear, heaven is about to whisper straight into your soul. This message will reach you exactly when you need it most, because your story is not over. It's just beginning. There are seasons in life when pain feels so persistent, it begins to define your very breath. You start to wonder if anyone sees what you carry, if the weight that presses on your chest in the quiet hours has any meaning at all. But here's the truth that your heart must remember. Your pain is not random. It has never been random. Every tear that fell, every sleepless night, every betrayal, and every disappointment was allowed not to destroy you, but to prepare you. Because you are not ordinary. You are called, chosen, and set apart. And with that divine choosing comes a weight that few understand. You weren't attacked because you were weak. The enemy doesn't waste his weapons on those who are not a threat. The very intensity of your struggle is a sign of what you carry. It's confirmation that the calling on your life terrifies the kingdom of darkness. The hell you've walked through is not because you were forsaken. It's because you were being forged. God allowed certain storms to come not to drown you, but to reveal that you can walk on water. What felt like chaos was heaven's classroom, teaching you endurance, deepening your faith, and stretching your obedience. The reason your path has been so steep, your load so heavy, and your battles so fiery is because you were never called to a shallow existence. You are destined for something that carries eternal weight. You've been entrusted with assignments that reach far beyond what the eye can see. And before such assignments are released, the vessel must be tested, purified, and proven. That's what your pain has been about, not punishment, but preparation. Not abandonment, but alignment. You were not overlooked. You were overshadowed by God's hand while He shaped something sacred in secret. There are people who have judged your scars without ever knowing your battles. They saw the struggle but missed the strength being built. They saw the weeping but not the worship that rose from it. But God saw it all. Every time you stood when you wanted to collapse, every time you kept believing when your faith felt like a whisper, every time you forgave when bitterness tried to consume you, heaven was watching. And heaven recorded every moment. Your pain became the ink in the story of a warrior rising, not just for your sake, but for those you are called to lift one day. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not broken beyond repair. You are in the hands of the potter, and your shaping was never meant to be comfortable. It was meant to be holy. The greater the purpose, the deeper the pressing. You may not understand it now, but one day when the light breaks through and God begins to reveal the why behind the wounds, you will see that nothing was wasted. The pain that tried to silence you will become the power that raises you. Because it's not the absence of trouble that proves your anointing, it's how you stand in the middle of the fire and refuse to bow. So hold on, chosen one. That pain in your soul is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of your rising. It's the sound of heaven preparing to release what's been building behind the scenes. You didn't walk through all of this for nothing. You walked through it because you are marked for something that will echo into eternity. Your scars are not shame, they are signs. Signs that you endured, signs that you survived, and signs that something divine is being birthed through you. Your pain is proof of your calling. There are moments in life when the silence of God feels louder than any thunder. You cry out, but all you hear is your own voice echoing back. You kneel down in prayer, hoping for a whisper, a sign, anything, but heaven remains quiet. And it is in those moments, those deep, aching silences, that the chosen ones are refined. Because silence is not absence, it is not rejection, it is the language of preparation. When God is silent, He is not ignoring you. He is building something in you that noise would only distract from. You may feel like God has forgotten your name, but the truth is, your name is engraved on the palm of His hand. The reason the silence feels so heavy is because you've been called into a depth that demands divine stillness. The work He's doing in you is not surface level, it's foundational. And foundations are not laid in public, they are laid in secret, hidden from view, buried beneath what others can see. But make no mistake, what's hidden is not lost, it's sacred. And the longer the silence, the deeper the roots. You are not being ignored, you are being grounded. Chosen ones often walk a lonely road, not because God isn't present, but because He is preserving them. Isolation doesn't mean abandonment. It means consecration. He pulls you away from the noise, the crowd, and even those you once leaned on, not to hurt you, but to show you that He is enough. When the familiar is stripped away and your support system crumbles, it is then that you discover who your true source is. It's not the approval of people, not the applause of the world, but the quiet strength that comes from walking hand in hand with the unseen God. The silence is also a test, not of your strength, but of your trust. Will you still follow Him when you can't trace Him? Will you still worship when your prayers seem to go unanswered? Will you still believe when every outward sign tells you to give up? These are the moments that separate the called from the chosen. Because anyone can praise when the doors are opening, but the chosen praise when all the doors are shut. They trust not because they see the outcome, but because they know the one who holds the outcome. And let's not forget, some of the greatest moves of God were birthed in silence. Between the Old and New Testaments, there were 400 years of prophetic silence. No visions, no words, just quiet. But what was God doing in that silence? Preparing the world for the birth of the Messiah. So if your life feels like a long pause, remember, God uses pauses to prepare breakthroughs. What seems like delay is often divine design. The silence may be stretching you, but it is not separating you from Him. In fact, it's bringing you closer than ever before. Sometimes the greatest revelation comes not from what God says, but from what He allows you to endure in the quiet. Because when everything is stripped away, when there are no voices cheering you on, no confirmations in sight, you learn to hear the whisper of your own faith, and that faith becomes unshakable. You stop relying on signs, and you start relying on truth. You stop chasing moments, and you start embracing the Maker. So if you are in that season where heaven feels closed and the silence is deafening, take heart. You are not forgotten. You are being fortified. God's silence is not a void, it's a womb. And something powerful is being birthed inside of you. What feels like a delay is actually divine incubation. Hold on, trust deeper, listen harder. The silence will not last forever, but the strength you gain in it will carry you through every storm to come. There are moments in your life when it feels like everything is falling apart. What once was stable begins to shake. People you trusted walk away. Dreams you held on to start to wither. And your heart, already weary, starts to wonder if any of it was ever meant to be. But what if I told you this breaking is not your end but your beginning? What if I told you that when everything falls apart, it's not punishment, it's positioning? For the chosen ones, pain is never wasted. God does not allow a single tear to fall without purpose. When your world is shaking, He is rearranging things to elevate you. The breaking of a chosen one is sacred. It's not like any other breaking. It comes not to destroy, but to refine. You may think you're being crushed, but in reality, you're being carved. You're not being buried, you're being planted. The fire you're feeling isn't meant to consume you, it's meant to purify you. Gold is not gold until it passes through fire, and your destiny cannot unfold until your soul is tested. That storm you're in, it's not meant to drown you, it's meant to awaken you. Because there are levels of strength, revelation, and authority that only come through brokenness. When God allows you to be broken, it's because He's separating you from the things that cannot go with you into your next season. Some relationships must end because they were rooted in comfort, not calling. Some doors must close because they lead to places too small for what God is about to do in your life. It may feel like loss, but it's divine alignment. You were chosen to walk a narrow road, and not everyone can go where you're going. The heartbreak, the betrayal, the abandonment, it all hurts, yes. But it also frees you. Because once you've been broken and rebuilt by God, you fear no man, you cling to no idol, and you walk with holy boldness. There's a level of clarity that only comes after you've cried your last tear. When you have nothing left, God becomes everything. You stop looking to others for validation, and you start moving by divine revelation. The chosen ones don't rise from easy paths. They rise from crushed places. They rise from seasons that looked like the end, but were actually the beginning of a mighty move of God. If you feel like you've lost everything, maybe you're right where God wants you, empty, so He can fill you, weak, so He can strengthen you, broken, so He can reshape you. Remember, even Jesus was broken before the resurrection. The cross came before the crown, the pain came before the glory. And just like Him, your greatest testimony will come after your deepest valley. This breaking is birthing something eternal in you. You're not being punished, you're being trusted. Trusted to carry more, trusted to stand taller, trusted to speak louder, because only the broken can minister to the broken, only the scarred can reach the wounded. Your story is not over, it's just being rewritten by the author of life Himself. You may feel like your life is in pieces, but God is the master potter. He doesn't throw the clay away. He reshapes it, He presses it, He works it with His hands. And when He's done, what was cracked will shine brighter, what was torn will be whole, what was overlooked will be celebrated. Don't despise the breaking. It's proof you're chosen to carry something heavy, chosen to walk differently, chosen to rise, not in your strength, but in His power. And when God moves, it will be sudden, swift, and undeniable. But until then, be faithful in the hidden place, because that hidden place is holy ground for the chosen ones. And when the silence breaks, the world will see what heaven already knows. You were set apart, you were prepared, and you were always destined to rise. There comes a moment in the life of a chosen one when all the pain, confusion, and betrayal begin to make sense. It's not immediate, and it doesn't always arrive in a neat, peaceful package. Instead, it dawns slowly, like the first light after a long, cold night. You begin to see that every tear had purpose, every storm had direction, and every wound became a passage through which divine wisdom flowed. It's in that moment you realize the betrayal didn't break you, it built you. The rejection didn't define you, it refined you. And the ones who hurt you the most, they were tools in the hand of a sovereign God. Chosen ones are not immune to pain. In fact, they often carry more than most. They are misunderstood, mistreated, and at times even hated without cause. But there's something sacred in this suffering. God doesn't waste a single drop of it. Every trial, every crushing moment is part of a divine design to strip away the unnecessary and reveal the unshakable. The pain becomes a teacher. The fire becomes a forge. You are not being destroyed, you are being defined. Heaven is shaping a vessel that can carry not only blessing but also the burden of glory. People often assume that those closest to you will protect you, love you, and stand by you. But for the chosen one, it's usually the opposite. It's the ones you trusted that turn away. It's the ones you confided in that expose you. It's the ones you helped that hurt you. Why? Because elevation comes through separation. God allows certain people to leave, certain bonds to break, and certain circles to close, not because you're not worthy of love, but because you're too valuable to be contaminated. He removes what cannot walk with you into your next season. There is pain in that pruning. It feels like abandonment, but it's actually advancement. You are not being punished, you are being promoted. But before God can elevate, He must eliminate. The chosen life is not about popularity. It's about purity. It's about purpose. It's about standing when others sit, speaking when others are silent, and believing when everything seems lost. And often that kind of faithfulness invites attacks. But God uses those very attacks to awaken what's dormant in you. He allows the betrayal so you can grow. He allows the fire so you can shine. He allows the isolation so you can hear Him clearly. Pain presses you into your purpose. Without the crushing, there is no oil. Without the breaking, there is no blessing. You begin to realize that you're not called to fit in. You're called to stand out. And standing out requires endurance. It requires perspective. It requires a heart that says, even if I don't understand, I still trust. That kind of faith doesn't come easy. It's forged in the furnace of affliction. But when you walk through that fire and refuse to let bitterness take root, you rise stronger, wiser, unshakable. That is the mark of a chosen one. You may look back and ask, why did I have to go through all of that? The answer is simple, because you were being trained. Your pain was your preparation. The betrayal was your boot camp. The silence was your schooling. God saw what you would carry, and He knew what it would cost. He couldn't afford for you to be soft. He had to toughen your spirit, sharpen your discernment, and seal your soul with humility. Because when your moment comes, and you'll walk in it not with pride, but with gratitude. Not with vengeance, but with vision. So don't curse the pain, don't despise the rejection. Don't mourn the loss longer than you need to. It had to happen, they had to leave. You had to feel it. Not just willing, but wise. Eventually, the moment will come when the hidden becomes revealed. And when it does, people will wonder where you came from. They'll say you came out of nowhere, but you'll know you came out of sacred silence. You came from the secret place. You were formed in fire and shaped in stillness. And you'll walk with a depth, a weight, and an authority that cannot be imitated, because it wasn't taught. It was imparted through every hour you spent unseen but known by heaven. When you speak, chains will break. When you pray, the atmosphere will shift. Not because of charisma, but because of consecration. That is the power of being hidden by God. That is the beauty of the unseen season. And that is why it's not a curse, but a covering. You are not missing out, you are being made. And when the time comes, you will rise not as a product of popularity, but as a vessel of purpose. Your emergence will not be for applause, but for assignment. And the world will finally witness what heaven always knew. You were chosen for such a time as this. You were never forgotten, only hidden for a divine purpose. In God's perfect time, you will rise prepared, purified, and powerful. Your hidden season was heaven's preparation for your destined unveiling.